So this is what it looks like on. Only thing missing is maybe like a black cover, maybe some black fabric here to cover my mouth and the eyes. So if any of you have any suggestions on how to do, like, I don't know, like curved tinted eyes, I will gladly listen to any of your suggestions. But yeah, that's about it for this video. So before I actually get into the build, I want to show you how I set this all up in Orca Slicer. So I'm using a Bamboo Lab P1P, by the way. That's my main printer. And I had to cut up the helmet into many, many smaller pieces to fit into the printer. And these are my settings. I use the preset 0.12 millimeter fine Bamboo Lab. Just close that. And the only things that I change are the quality. I change it to a 0.1 instead of a 0.12. Layer height, and for supports enabled, and tree supports auto. That's it. Those are the only things I change in the print settings. Now let's get to the build. So in case you haven't seen any of my other videos, my typical sanding process is 120 grit to a 220 grit to a 320 grit, then I ended off with a 420 grit right before my first coat of primer. And we're gonna go ahead and skip through the sanding process because it's very boring to watch. Now after the initial sand, I go ahead and give it a thick layer of primer, and it's okay to lay it on thick because if there are any drips, you can go ahead and sand it down after it dries. Now after the first coat of primer is dried, I like to go ahead and give it a nice wet sand with a 1000 grit sandpaper. You can see I'm wetting it up with a sponge and sanding it down. This will give it a nice smooth, polished look, making it ready for paint. Now if you haven't noticed, there are plenty of gaps and seams to fill up in this helmet from bad prints or just putting these pieces together. And what I like to do is take some wood putty and fill those in. And once it's dried up, you just go in and sand it smooth. It's already looking a lot better than it did before. Now here's my second coat of primer, which I'm laying over the wood putty from the previous section. And it's okay to lay it on thick, because again, you can just sand it down. And here's the mask, which goes through pretty much the same exact process as the helmet. And here I am giving the helmet a nice coat of gloss black paint, as well as the mask.